largest gathering.
And we learn from their experiences.
A fantastic success.
Shift expectation, double shift.
With a song about peace, the 18th Global Child Nutrition Forum began in Yerevan. To live in peace and change the world for the better, these appeals formed the recurring theme of the International Forum. From Armenia to South Africa, from ministers to analysts, more than 250 specialists from 45 countries gathered to discuss how to address poverty and hunger through national school feeding programs. For the first time, the Global Child Nutrition Forum was held in Armenia. Prior to 2016, the forum had not been held in any European or Central Asian country. It was also the first time it was held at such a high level. Prime Minister of Armenia Hovik Abramyan greeted participants. Cousin, Executive Director of the United Nations World Food Programme, made a special trip to Yerevan to inspire participants to join forces in the struggle for a better future for children all over the world.
This is the largest gathering of the GCNF. More people are finding the importance of not just implementing school meals programs in their countries, but also the opportunity to learn from others. Well, the reason WFP is participating in these activities is because school meals is an avenue for us addressing childhood hunger and nutrition issues. But it's also an opportunity for us to address education issues, agricultural issues, gender issues, but first and foremost, it helps address access to nutritious food for children, which is very much a part of how we achieve zero hunger around the world.
Today, countries are merging into regional unions to solve similar issues together. For example, representatives of African governments and members of the African School Feeding Network held their own session at the forum. Bhutanese Secretary of Education Kama Yeshi announced the creation of a similar network for South Asian countries.
We have 15 ministers of state here to discuss and to hear the solutions about school feeding. This is the purpose of the forum. What we need to do is to support the countries to find the best solutions for them. This is the purpose of this kind of global forum, to show all the models and to support the countries to find their own model.
School feeding serves as a way to break the vicious cycle of poverty and economic problems. Well-nourished children get sick less and study more effectively, to later become better professionals and shape the future of their country. Research shows that childhood malnutrition cannot be compensated for, but it can be prevented.
Children can't learn if they're hungry. And even in rich countries, there are many children who come to school without having a breakfast or maybe not even dinner the night before. And if they come to school hungry, they can't learn. It's to help the children to start with, but it also supports families, particularly poor families, because sending children to school is an expensive proposition for a family. If the program can provide a meal, that relieves some of the stress on the family for taking care of the child.
Workshops, national sessions, consultations and a marketplace were held during the forum's 5 days. Experts presented their achievements and held consultations in a new dialogue format, technical consultation booths. The program wasn't limited to the conference hall. Participants were offered the opportunity to go on field visits to schools. For the first time in the 18-year history of the forum, these weren't merely excursions, but actual opportunities to participate in the changes underway in Armenia as part of its national school feeding program. Forum participants planted fruit trees that will be looked after by students. Together with cooks, guests baked the traditional Armenian bread that students eat at school. the participants joined together with children to play interactive games devoted to healthy eating. Participants were also able to taste the national Armenian dishes that make up the menu at school canteens. The directors of the host schools shared their experience, and the children prepared a cultural program. These visits helped to demonstrate how school infrastructure in Armenia is changing. Gardens and school farms are becoming part of the educational process. The change in the approach to school feeding isn't just about re-equipping cafeterias, but also involves working informally with children and their parents.
Here in Armenia, there is already strong evidence that school feeding, nutrition-based, is making a difference. Enrollment is very positive. The dropout rates is reducing. More girls are able to come to school and participate in the educational programs.
83,000 children in Armenia became beneficiaries of the school feeding program, a joint effort between the UN World Food Programme and Russia. The launch of the national school feeding program was preceded by in-depth work. It resulted in the reconstruction of infrastructure at all levels, from legislative changes to the refitting of school kitchens. According to WFP data, every dollar invested in the Armenian school feeding program will yield $7 in the future. Such is the benefit of investing in education and social protection.
I believe we can be very proud. Of course, there is still a long way to go. Of course, there is still a large disparity between the schools, but so far I can say on behalf of the government that indeed this program is moving in the right direction. So far, what has been achieved is definitely a great achievement. That was very encouraging to see the government not only adopting a national school feeding strategy, but moving practically also in taking on this program in these three provinces, of course, together with our partners SIFI and thanks to the Russian Federation funding, we've been continuing to accompany the government in this venture because there are a lot of issues to be solved.
Forum guests were invited by the Armenian President, Serge Sargsyan, to discuss relevant topics and share their views on school feeding. At this meeting, medals were given to the UNWFP Country Director in Armenia, Pascal Michaud, and to the President of the Social and Industrial Food Service Institute, Vladimir Chernigov. A high appraisal was given to the SIFI and the UN World Food Programme Partnership in the implementation of the Armenian National School Feeding Programme, as well as the financial support from the Russian Federation. The participants acknowledge that this event not only facilitated the discussion of international practice, but also gave them food for thought for the future. Everyone agrees that the world is more or less clear on what to do in children and school feeding programs. The question, however, is how. A bigger question still is how exactly. It is on these particular and certainly very important points that I believe we are focused on in the work that lies ahead as we organize similar events, seminars and practical training. These are undoubtedly many tasks and a lot of interesting things that lie ahead of us, but the main step has already been taken. The 18th Global Child Nutrition Forum will leave not only good memories, but something much more important: new projects, including national and international cooperation programs designed to hasten the day the world will be free of hunger.